Hello, everyone. Just want to say a quick thank you for clicking onto the video. Please do us a favor and hit that like button, comment, and most importantly of all, please subscribe to the channel. Enough of the chatter. Let's get on with the video. Do you think some of that could be like these players thinking, well, if I commit this foul, it could draw some attention to me because they're covering Caitlyn. So if I biff her one time, I might be on Sports Center. Caitlin Clark, a lot of the sports pundits are thinking that Caitlin Clark is maybe not getting treated fairly, not getting the calls that she should be getting. Uh, it almost seems at times like some of the other women in the league kind of resent her and her star appeal. And it comes across at times like we're going to make you pay your dues type physicality. It's it's a rough league in the WNBA for sure. There is a lot of physicality there, but I see both sides. Like as a rook, you're not going to get all the calls. You're going to kind of be initiated by fire. The referees don't necessarily owe you any calls. You haven't built that cachet, but at the same time, some of these fouls are very flagrant and aggressive. Like you can't just do that, especially as a league. Do you want to cut off your nose to spite your face? And that's kind of what it's like. Like one of your, for lack of a better word, one of your cash cows, you're out there just beating the tar out of on a nightly basis to kind of prove what point other than, hey, we were here first or we've been here. It's not all about you. Almost trying to humble Caitlin Clark. And there are people like me that do feel like sometimes Caitlin Clark needs to be humbled. But there's a right and wrong way to do it. And I don't think necessarily getting ultra aggressive with these fouls is the way to go. What do you think, Jay? As far as Caitlin Clark and the treatment by players and refs, is there some imbalance there? Is there some things that could be worked on, or do you think it's just par for the course, like business as usual?
I mean, some of the plays look horrendous. However, like some of them are just people setting screens and she's running full force into a screen. You can't, you can't say someone has malice behind that. If you run into a brick wall, you run into a brick wall. Hey, get in the weight room in the off season. You know what happened with Jordan when he kept getting beat up and bullied, and you know what happened? Off season, he put on muscle. Did he complain about it in the moment? Possibly. But at the end of the off season, he came back a bigger, better Michael. And there wasn't like at some point you're saying should we protect our cash cow and all this? Hey, you're you're an independent contractor. You play in the NBA, okay? You're blessed to play there. You're blessed to have a contract. You're blessed to have all these endorsements. But at the same time, the NBA don't owe you anything either. As an association, you're just playing underneath them. Um, as far as like refs protecting her and stuff, nah. Like, let's play ball. You came here to play ball. Let's play ball. I'm not saying that there should be prison rules basketball or anything like that. That time has passed. We've evolved from that, from people getting picked out of the air and slammed on the ground and you know stuff like that. We don't play basketball like that anymore.
Green
Um,
ball.
yeah. But I do think that a lot of it is some of it is overreaction. Some of it is a lot of her. I don't want to say flopping because it's not a flop, but over exaggeration maybe. Um, I've seen her shove someone and then be shocked and surprised whenever they come back and do the same thing to her. You know, I forget who they were playing, but she physically walked up to this girl and shoved her clear across the floor. And the next play, the girl got back on her, and then she wanted to start complaining. So it's catch 22, bro. Catch 22.
Good deal, good deal. Julio, what do you think, man?
I mean, as far as that goes, in my opinion, it's the competitiveness of the sport, right? You have to be able to take fouls and also give fouls. I don't think that there's any favoritism played in any of that. I think that they're letting them play when it comes to that portion of it. Of course, everybody has their own opinion when it comes to that. So for me, it's like if you're playing a game and it's a competitive game, whether it be boxing, whether it be NBA, whether it be WNBA, NFL, whatever it is, there's rules to follow. There are times where you see, of course, as a fan, you see certain calls that are being made, and you're like, you can obviously tell that they were making that call for the opposition, right? So, um, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I just think that they're letting them play to play, right? They're letting them be competitive because at the end of the day, this is a competitive sport. You're trying to win a game, and I mean, the play is what's going to happen. You're going to go through fouls. You're going to pick up some fouls, and sometimes you're going to take some fouls. And whether they be hard or not hard or whatever, quote unquote, is intended at the time, sometimes you get a call called your way, and sometimes you don't. So to me, it doesn't seem to, as far as I can tell, because again, kind of like what Jay was saying, I don't really watch WNBA that much to be able to say, oh, that these are intentional fouls or these are, something that's premeditated. I don't know what the thought process is that goes in behind all these calls and what's going on as far as the drama portion of it goes. But I mean, when you're playing a competitive sport and you're trying to win a game, things are going to happen, whether it be NFL, whether it be NBA, whether it be WNBA, whether it be NHL, it doesn't matter what it is. It's a competitive sport. You're playing to win. So at the end of the day, you got to be able to adjust to those things that you're going through in order for you to be able to win a game. So to me, I throw my hands up and I'm like, you know what? It it kind of, I understand the attention that it's getting behind it only because of, again, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, the drama that was drawn up beforehand, right? Whether it be the national championship game and the whole, John Cena thing and things of that nature, it plays into that. What we were talking about before when we said, you can't have a Batman without a Joker, you can't have a Superman without a Lex Luthor, you can't have those things. You're going to have competitiveness there. So I mean, I can't really sit here and go, oh, it's blatantly this, and we're seeing these things, and you can blatantly see that these are fouls that are happening or things of that nature, and be like, yeah, that's a blatant foul, or this is a blatant, not call, or this call, or that and the other.
But I
You
mean,
know,
if it's physicality across the league and it's these same kinds of fouls on multiple players, that's one thing. I don't know if it's necessarily that, Or is it something where, well, she's kind of a media darling, so the media is going to highlight what happens to her specifically
Exactly.
and not, oh, well, this same, foul took place on another game, but they didn't bring that up, so you're not really going to know unless
Ex-
you watch that game.
I mean,
exactly.
we don't know
So
because she's getting all the
That's,
coverage.
that's what I'm
So
saying. Are
exactly.
they over covering it and making it more like in the spotlight, or is that legit? Like, no, this doesn't really go on universally across the league. It is more of a targeted towards Caitlin Clark kind of an issue. T, I'll let you get into it, brother.
I mean, I'll just stick with the most recent one, and that's the Kennedy Carter foul. Uh, if you looked at that game, then you saw 3 plays before that foul. She elbowed Carter pretty hard. There was no foul called on that. So, do I think what Kennedy did was? I mean, bro, that was Draymond Green-esque. Like, people have been saying you need to get an enforcer. You need to get an enforcer. You need to get an enforcer. But when an opposing team does that, then there's a problem. So at the end of the day, what do you want? Like, what do you want from the players? Do like at some point it's gonna become physical. Keep it within the confines of the game, the confines of the sport, bro. Like, I think, do I think that Caitlin Clark has been targeted some this season? Absolutely. There has been fouls, like flagrant ass fouls, that have been done. Some of them have been called, some of them haven't. But the same could go for Angel Reese. Like, we just looked at her get pulled dead smack out the middle of the air and get basically body slammed damn near. Like,
Do you think some of that could be like these players thinking, well, if I commit this foul, it could draw some attention to me because they're covering Caitlyn. So if I biff her one time, I might be on Sports Center.
absolutely. I don't think it's just, centered on Sports Center, but I think it is. Y'all talking about Caitlin Clark so much. Like, there's more than just Clark. Here, let me show you. Boom,
Yeah.
pull her ass down. Boom,
Clothesline.
elbow her. Yeah, like,
well, I
but
mean, just to put it in perspective, the that foul that we were talking about made GMA, Good Morning America. So even they're talking about it. So
I mean, when do you ever really hear them talk about sports?
there we go. With eyes on the game, bro, like
Yep.
we just talked about. So sometimes you gotta embrace the bad with the good. And
Yep.
sometimes you gotta just, you know, sometimes you have to stand up for what you believe in and shit. If you believe, like, okay, I said it earlier, we weren't talking about anything until Angel Reese did this, and it was a big ass deal. Her doing this, and Caitlin Clark did it. It was done to her last year. What do you expect? Like, come on, bro. Let these girls play. Fouls gonna be fouls. You gonna get fouled hard. So you just gotta keep it within the confines of the game, bro. Like, it can't be no 1990s Detroit Pistons type fouls out here, which is some of the stuff that we've been seeing. But gotta do a better job at refing the game. Like, you have to do a better job at refereeing the game, man. Like, the fouls that should have been fouls, you gotta call those fouls. And the fouls that you're calling, embrace the good with the bad, man. And I think what's being done is good for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I guess at this point in the process, all publicity is good publicity until they can kind of get that straightened out. And I think once they have consistent either consistent numbers or consistently rising numbers, then you can start focusing on how to clean up the game a little bit more.